want to make sure that they understand there's a commitment to their generation, and it really has to do with making an investment. That's why I'm working so hard now with local and state officials to expand South Shore service. I have emphasized to everyone I talk to that since 1970 we've lost over 9% of our population. Our median income is down over 15%, and the average person living in Lake County today is 43% older. That tells me that young people, many of the graduates from Purdue University, Calumet, when they have that talent and then they get that education, they don't stay. We need to keep them here by making sure they know we're going to make an investment in their quality of life and in their opportunity to get a good paying job. Some of that can be access to the economy of Chicago. Chicago's economy is larger than Sweden's. But part of that is to draw that economic activity to Northwest Indiana. And it's clear given the demographics of this country, and we have some graduates today who are over 60 years of age. But I think in many instances they're looking for the same thing, is they don't necessarily want to get into a car to go to work. They want to be able to use transit. And the other part of that equation is recapturing the lakeshore. People in Northwest Indiana only have to go to Whiting to see new economic vibrancy. It's a relatively small community, but in 2020, there will be more people living in Whiting than there were 10 years before, and on average, they're going to be younger. So from my perspective, that's my responsibility. If they go somewhere else because they have a better opportunity, fine. If they go somewhere else because they have no opportunity here, shame on all of us.
Ileana just got approved by NERC. How does that affect, or does it affect, anything that you're doing with the South Shore?
I think it has a positive effect on the economy in Northwest Indiana, and so that's good for all of us. We do need to think regionally. I am a proponent of the Ileana, and part of that is to make sure that we can move goods and people and commerce through Northwest Indiana as efficiently as possible. To the extent that you saw Northwest Indiana coming together and making a decision, it bodes well as far as our reputation with the state of Indiana that we can come together on major decisions for infrastructure investment to move our economy ahead.
Who's going to local match on that South Shore funding? I mean, at some point, we're all around here going to have to step up and give some money. Where are you going to get it?
At this point in time, I'm convinced that there will be a commitment, and I do not speak for the Regional Development Authority, from the Regional Development Authority. At this point in time, we're having numerous conversations with local officials as well as county officials, both county council and commissioners. You're absolutely correct. There is going to have to be a commitment locally that the state's going to have to recognize, if you would, we have skin in the game. What I have told everyone is if we can evidence that we have that commitment to make that investment, half of that original money to build the train is going to be return of the tax dollars we're sending to Washington, D.C. today. And I'm guardedly optimistic that after more than 20 years of attempts, we will be successful in the near future in resolving the issue of financing.
The budget deal, you're the only Indiana legislator to vote for what many see as a bipartisan deal. So why?
It was a bipartisan agreement between a couple of members of Congress who headed the budget committees in both houses. There were positive attributes of the legislation that I truly appreciate. One of the things that it has done, and you have heard me complain violently in the past about it, is we have been unable to do the simplest functions of governing, that is passing appropriation bills and making discrete decisions on a day-to-day basis instead of simply saying we're going to do continuing resolutions and do what we did last year. The agreement does, for the current fiscal year, 2014 and 2015, free us to do that. There is an anticipation, if not all 12 appropriation bills, most will be completed individually and included in an omnibus. That's the positive aspect of it. What I find upsetting is we still have a tepid economy. We still have long-term problems meeting a commitment to the next generation to ensure the solvency of the entitlement programs, Medicare, Social Security, those earned income programs. We did not address their long-term viability for the next generation. That was a disappointment. To an extent, we moved some chairs around on the deck. to essentially avoid another shutdown next month. That's positive, but we missed opportunities from my perspective. And additionally, the committee system that should be deliberative, should be holding hearings, should be meeting individually and offering amendments and considering legislation discreetly, was absent because you had a couple of people doing negotiations for a couple of weeks, and one day before Congress leaves, take it or leave it. So I didn't care for the process involved either.
Politically, a lot of folks are saying this is an example of bipartisanship in Washington, perhaps one of the first movements toward that, and people see it as that. Next thing you know, you're voting against it. I mean, some are going to say you're being just partisan.
No bill is all good. No bill is all bad. I evidence there are some very good features to this bill. On the other hand, I would point out that the votes, over 90 in opposition, were also very bipartisan.